All right, so we're going to go over a vocabulary assignment really quick, and I'm going to try and figure out ways to give you examples without giving you the answers, if that makes sense. So, the whole point of the vocabulary assignment is not for you just to define the terms. I already know what the terms mean, I'm teaching them. What I need is for you to show me your understanding of the terms. So, how you're going to use them is by an example, right? If you're going to use the word argument, you're going to give me an example of how you know what that word means, right? And so we know that an argument is a stance on an issue based on reasons, right? So that's the definition. We've defined it. I already understand that. How are you going to use that in a sentence to help me understand your understanding of the term? And again, an argument is not a quarrel. It's a stance you take on an issue based on reasons. Okay, so I guess you could say an argument might be, and you can use again, her argument was that she chose to feed her dog Alpo because she was seeing positive results as she was feeding her dog Alpo. Okay, so there was the argument of a stance, which is for Alpo, because, which are the reasons, she was seeing results. Okay, and remember, reasons are best as data, research, that sort of thing, not opinion. All right, I don't know if that's kind of helping you a little bit. So in other words, I want you to really show me your understanding of how we are using the terms, but not with just defining it, okay? And again, conclusion is not in conclusion. I would highly suggest in any papers you turn in with me or at any time you ever use this term, do not put in conclusion. I hate it. It drives me nuts because one, you don't need to put in conclusion at the end of an essay. I already know it's your last sentence. We're good. Okay. And then second of all, in this class, we don't use it as the ending of an essay. We use it as a stance that we come to on an argument based on reasons on an issue, right? So I've come to the conclusion that based on the following reasons, this is my stance on this argument. That's the conclusion, okay? I just have to say that so that way it makes more sense to you. And again, reasons, when we're talking about reasons, we're using the because. The reasons are the because, not, it's a because on an issue, if that makes sense. So sometimes people will use reasons like reasons as excuses. Does that make sense? Reasons are not excuses. Reasons are based on data and research, okay? Anyway, so I'm just trying to kind of get you through a little bit on this one. So please make sure you're using them correctly. I'm going to give you a real quick example of how not to use a vocabulary word versus using a vocabulary word. So the not way to do it is the design of a study is a protocol. That's defining the term. I already know what it means. Don't tell me what the definition is. Show me how you would use it. And you would use protocol as an example might be, the protocol for this experiment is that the doctor needs to put on gloves and a mask before handling the specimen. Right? So that's a step-by-step. That's that protocol, right? The step-by-step of what you need to do in order to perform this experiment so that if anyone else goes to do it, they will continue to do it correctly, okay? And so this is important for, research so that way you're getting consistent results, okay? Anyway, so please be mindful of that. And also you can use multiple vocabulary words in a sentence, but you have to make sure one, that you're using them correctly and that you are not just using them to use them, but you're showing me your understanding. So if you were to say, the protocol for this experiment is that subjects, which were, and then you'd have to say what the subjects were, which would be what, 45-year-old men, right? That would be the subjects because of whatever the experiment is. You'd say, the subjects, which were 45-year-old men, were given the placebo, which was a sugar pill or whatever. So again, if you're going to use the term, you got to also show me that you know what it is. Okay. And again, subjects are the animals or the people that are used in an experiment. Okay. And then the, variable is the placebo, which is the sugar pill or the actual pill that they get. So anyway, these are just how I'm trying to give you examples on how you would use vocabulary. Let's see here. If you're going to use something like syllogism, don't just say, and that was a syllogism. Like, I want you to show me what a syllogism is. And you can even use syllogisms like modus ponens, modus tonens, like that sort of thing. You can use it as an example. Like if you're going to talk about deductive reasoning versus inductive reasoning, and I know that inductive reasoning was used mostly correct in majority of the responses, and it would say in the inductive reasoning they use data and research, right? That's how we know inductive reasoning is used. We use data and research, to come to our statistical generalization, right, based on that information. Now, deductive reasoning is the formula that we use to come up with an argument. Again, deductive reasoning uses syllogisms. So when you go back to my feedback, if you were using deductive reasoning in your responses, I was asking you questions like, can you tell me, like, show me how you know what that term is, which is important to me because we can just throw out terms and be like, I don't know, I just used it because you asked me to. But what I'd like you to do is show me. So deductive reasoning, if you had used it in your article, what you would have done is followed up with saying, they used deductive reasoning in this article. An example would be, and you could use an example like, modus ponens is, if A then B, A therefore B. So maybe the example was, I'm trying to use examples without pulling too much from the articles, but if he was immortal, then he was, if he's a man, he's mortal. Socrates was a man, therefore he was mortal, right? You can use those as examples to show me how somebody was using deductive reasoning. What was the syllogism? What were they using? If you use the word syllogism, don't just tell me what a syllogism is, show me. So I want you to show me your understanding, and examples is your best bet. So just keep that in mind as we go through. Like if you're going to use stereotyping, show me what stereotyping might look like. If you're going to use a minor or major premise, remember you have your minor premise, or your major premise, your minor premise, and then your conclusion. So your major premise would be, all men are mortal. That's a major premise. Your minor premise would be Socrates was a man. All men are mortal. Socrates was a man. And then your conclusion, which is therefore he's, mortal. Anyway, so go back to the reading, go back to the lecture to kind of get a good idea. This is not necessarily going to be, what's the word? Intuitive. It's not intuitive. It's critical thinking. That's what I'm anticipating here. So do some critical thinking. It's going to take a minute. You're going to have to sit and really think about it. It's going to be kind of meta, right? You got to think about not just what the term is, but how we're using it and how are you going to use it in a sentence to show me your usage, your understanding. So anyway, all right. Hopefully that wasn't too long. I'm really trying to give you some good footing on what it is I'm looking for. So when I'm going through, I could just be like, nailed it, nailed it, nailed it. All right. I have complete faith in you. Y'all have been doing really good. Just keep this in mind as we move forward. And if any questions, go ahead, reach out to me. I'm not gonna be giving you answers, but I will help you if you need it. So just so you know, you all are absolutely totally capable of this. Again, please be mindful not to be, what do you call it? Plagiarizing, which includes AI and copy and paste from Google. So just keep in mind, it always shows up in the wash. So that's all. Message me if you have questions.